Welcome to the Football Show on this Tuesday evening. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have your company tonight. Alan Ruff alongside me as ever with Alison McConnell of the Herald and Times. Here's what we're going to talk about tonight. Yeah, lots of stuff to talk about on the park and, of course, off the park as well. We'll be looking at the Europa League games, Rangers and Celtic. Rangers off to take on Rapid Vienna in Austria, and, of course, Celtic at home to RB Salzburg. That still to come. We will get the predictions of our two panellists on Aberdeen against Livingston tonight and look at the Champions League Tuesday and Wednesday evening as well. And with that in mind, obviously, a story that's going south of the border and north of the border is, of course, racism. Now, bearing in mind that Fraser Wishart has already come out, Ruffy, and made a statement on racism and the need to continue the work that Show Racism, the Red Card, employs. Over and above that, we have, Raheem Sterling, again, subject to abuse. Do we need to do more? Is it something that we can get a campaign that's over and above the period that Show Racism go for 2 weeks? We should be all year round with this.
No, I think we are doing a lot. I mean, it's out there for everybody to see. I think we're targeting the youth more than people who you're not going to change at all. And they're the people we've got to worry about. These are the people, it doesn't matter how much you preach to them, they just don't get it. And they're the ones that we want punished. They're the ones that everybody else should see that this is something we're not going to tolerate. But no, I think the racism is out there targeting the right group of youngsters who are the future of the game, and if they can get it, I'm sure it will help us in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea have suspended 4 fans pending an investigation ahead of the game for Man City against Hoffenheim. Pep Guardiola says, this is not just about football, this is everywhere.
It's everywhere. The problem is the racism is in everywhere. The people we focus in football. It's not just in football, unfortunately. If it was just in football, we'll be safe. But the racism is in everywhere. What happened today in immigrants and refugees all around the world, how we treat them. When once in our lives we were refugees, our grandfathers or great-grandfathers and mothers were refugees, how we treat the societies, unfortunately, is in everywhere. That's why we have to fight and every day. They don't have to be tolerant zero about that issue. I appreciate what Chelsea did. What happened in my club, we should do the same. So we have to fight, but strictly for the human rights, from everything to make a better society for the future for everyone. But today we are in danger, but not here in England, in everywhere, absolutely everywhere, in all across the Europe. And the message for the politicians today are really, really tough about the human rights. So, and you have to defend, you have to protect our democracy in the best way.
I mean, I look back at the 80s when, some fans were guilty of throwing bananas at Mark Walters. It was something that he discussed in his book when he launched it over a couple of months ago, Alison. Now we have Christian Mbulu of Motherwell suffering racist abuse as well. I just wonder, I agree with what Pep Guardiola was saying there. It is everywhere, but they're using football as the platform. I mean, there was a banana skin thrown on to the park. I think it was Aubameyang of Arsenal who suffered, that torrent of abuse, and obviously someone throwing the banana skin on.
Yeah, it's morally reprehensible, and I think it's depressing, the incidences that we've seen of it this season. They've not been isolated, which I would think would be a cause for concern. Scott Sinclair, I think, has been racially abused more than one occasion. We saw it at Ibrox, we saw it at the League Cup final. An Aberdeen fan was caught on camera being racially abusive. We've also saw at Hearts this weekend, Anne Burge moved pretty swiftly to take action against 2 supporters. Boy at Falkirk, Denon Lewis was racially abused, and I suppose it's difficult to see these things in isolation because they're probably part of a bigger societal problem. But I agree with Ruffy in terms of education underpins everything. But I think when you go to football matches, there's an onus on people round about you to call it out, which maybe isn't as easy as what you think. But I think you have to try and make it as socially unacceptable as something like drink driving or you know, like to go back to really calling people on it rather than this casual racism that we've seen in the past that people tend to put up with or turn a blind eye to. And I think too, there's always been an element, I think, of smugness in Scottish circles in society that we're not quite as racist as down south, that we're more tolerant. And I'm not sure that really holds up to scrutiny when you put it up to the light. I don't know that that's correct, and I think you have to guard against that kind of complacency. Yeah,
well, you know, amazingly, Ruffy, because I work very closely with Show Racism, the Red Card, you know, that group who work tirelessly north and south of the border are not funded as well as they should be. I mean, they struggle for money. You know, the 2-week campaign alone, they call in favours off everybody and their granny, when really, as Alison mentioned there, maybe more government money should be set aside, just as much as we spend on, you know, the likes of drink driving, to give people the message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm all for it. You know, I think it's something we don't like to see in society, in the profession that we are so active in, football. We don't want it to see us being the main ones that it's happening at, and unfortunately that's what's happening just now. But that's why I'm saying, I mean, I know our football team are out at schools, you know, preaching it, and I'm sure there are other clubs sending their players out to schools trying to get it through to the kids as well. But again, you know, when we see these people that are being found guilty, you just have to look at them, and I don't think that you can save them at all. It's just where they are and they won't change. Yeah, well, let's hope some people can be saved and educated into their wrongs. It's a topic that's linked to football. More often than not, we'd rather not talk about it, but it rears its ugly head. Gordon Strachan's been speaking as ever with, you know, he works for a bookmaker at times. He gives an interview out. This time he's talking about Rangers maybe too big for Alfredo Morelos and others. I think what he's alluding to, Ali, is quite simply that Morelos, I don't think he got sent off when he was playing for Helsinki. He's getting sent off for Rangers. Some players maybe don't realise, can't handle the pressures of playing for such a big club.
It's an entirely different pressure going from Helsinki than it is to go to Rangers, as we would all be able to appreciate. I think it's a bit of an unfair comment. I don't know if I would agree with Gordon that the club's too big for him. And if you had to criticise Morelos at all, now, aside from the disciplinary record, what you would maybe look at is the goals that come in big games, or maybe the lack of goals in big games.
I think he was talking about his mental strength, though, because there is that sense of responsibility. Yes, you want to do well for the fans. The pressure's incredible, but it's that mental strength to be able to conduct yourself. No, there's no point in sitting out 2 games every now and then. That's not worth it to anybody.
I think there are a lot of people who have gone into Celtic or Rangers and struggled with the pressure, with the Goldfish Bowl that is Glasgow, with the intensity. It's a city that lays claim to its footballers too. It's not just about what you do on the park on a Saturday afternoon or a Wednesday night. It's round the clock intensity and pressure and questioning, and people wanting to talk to you all the time. And I do think there are certain players that cope with that better than others. In terms of whether or not Rangers are too big for him, I think it's a bit unfair, I'd have to say. I think like at times you'd maybe point to him as the only player, or one of the players that you would expect to make something happen. This time last week we were talking about whether or not he's about to set a new goal scoring record in the top flight. So he has something. There is something there. It's how you manage that. It's how you get the best out of him. It's how you actually get through to him. And it's like every player, there comes a shelf life. If you don't take those things on board, then you don't really hang on to a club at Rangers if you don't absorb the lessons that people are trying to explain to you.
Yeah, Ruffy, 12 yellow cards, 3 red cards, but he has scored 17 goals.
Yeah, he has. I mean, we've seen it throughout the game. There are certain individuals who have a temperament that they can't keep a hold of, you know, and it seems to be with him when things aren't going well. You know, he's scoring goals is there for everybody to see. When you're scoring goals, everything's great, but when you're not scoring goals and wee niggly things start getting into your head, you have to change yourself personally. You know, I know the manager will have had a word with him, you know. But again, you know, it depends on an environment he comes from. There are players out there through the game who just can't handle it when they know the things that happen for them.
Okay, you can give us your view on that and give us your thoughts on whether Morelos can handle the pressure. We've heard from Pep Guardiola. We're going to hear from Brendan Rodgers and James Forrest too.
Look, I never really experienced racism at school. Kids weren't racist to me. I had lots of friends with lots of different backgrounds, but I recall racism. I recall racism in the streets I walked, in terms of being in the city centre and having glass bottles thrown at us or racist terms shouted at us, or walking down the streets, certain streets that you knew not to go down. You knew there'd be racist incidents. But my earliest memory of racism would be probably when I was 12, 13, leaving home to go to school one morning, seeing a strange looking envelope on the front door, picking it up. I had the newspaper cut out letters on it, opening the letter up, seeing a picture mocked up of my mum tied to a chair with 2 guns pointed to her head, and it had the headline on it, "Bang Bang, that's all it takes." And it was a letter from Combat 18 to send a message to me and my family to get out of politics, to mind their own business and stay quiet and shut our mouths.
We were just talking about Alfredo Morelos and whether he could handle the demands of playing for Rangers. I think the general consensus here is he well and truly can. One man who can, who's been linked with a move back to Rangers, interestingly enough, Alison, is Steve Davis. I don't think Southampton are going to stand in his way of a move. It'd be interesting to see him coming back to Rangers. You know, when you think of 2012, Lafferty on the way out, vilified, maybe there's a chance for the Rangers fans to welcome another old boy back.
Well, put it this way, if it was ever on the cards, I would suspect he'd be welcomed back with open arms. He was a fantastic player when he was at Ibrox the first time around. I think he's gone down south. He's really supplemented that experience by playing in the top flight and playing very well. He's an international captain. He knows what the club's about. I think he's a Rangers boyhood fan. And I think any player of that ilk and that experience would be welcome back. However, whether or not it is plausible, I'm not entirely sure what the finances would be, or whether maybe he would fancy seeing his career out at Ibrox and would be willing to take what I would imagine would be quite a substantial wage cut or not.
Yeah, we conducted a poll on this, and 61% said, you know, they would be happy to see Steve Davis back. He's one of those players that I think could offer them a wee bit more experience in the middle of the park, and certainly I think at times offer them something more than they've got at the moment, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, I think when Barry's on, you know, that's one of the things he pinpoints. You know, that's the position he played. He doesn't think Rangers have got that kind of player who can pull the strings just now. He's certainly got all the experience in the world, club and international level. He would be an asset to them, but we'll just have to wait and see if Steven Gerrard really wants him.
Yeah, and Rapid Vienna against Rangers is coming up on Thursday. Ali, from your own perspective on this one, I think Rangers can look back with a tremendous amount of pride at the way they've gone through. I thought it was going to be a difficult group, but the way they've gone through this group, to get to the point where your last game, you know exactly destiny's in your own hands. I mean, if they could get through this group, it'd be great.
I think they've acquitted themselves very well in the European campaign throughout, since that very first game that Steven Gerrard took over to all the way through. I think maybe better than people would have anticipated, maybe even than some of the Rangers support would have anticipated. It's a very fraught group though. They all can still make it through. It's so tight. I don't know if it's just a bridge too far on Thursday night. My own feeling might be that I think it's quite a substantial challenge on Thursday night to go there and get the result that you need.
Yeah, I'll get your thoughts on it on Wednesday night, Ruffy, alongside Barry. Obviously, if I ask him now, it changes over a 24-hour period, Ali. But as far as the other game is concerned, Ruffy, there was a story in the papers this morning. I discarded it because, quite simply, there are some stories that you look at and you think, I'm just not... We could have actually discussed it yesterday on the programme, but I looked at it and I thought, no, that's just a back page headline that I'm not going to bite with, which Craig Gordon obviously bit with this morning because he's been asked the question, Bournemouth in for McGregor. Now, unless I'm going to stick my neck out and say, you know, Callum McGregor is not going from Glasgow Celtic to a small club like Bournemouth, and I don't care about the wages argument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I said that was Armstrong, you know, and I thought Celtic would have held on to Armstrong as well, but that £9 million or whatever it was seemed to be too much to turn down.
Yeah, can I jump in there and say
well,
that
I was going to say,
wanted
yeah,
to
well, I
leave?
was going to say that. I don't know whether the boy insisted that he wanted to go. That might be the case, but again, you don't know these young players. You know, they all want to play in English football. They all want to play in that Premier League against the best players in the world, and it'd be interesting, you know, from both sets, from the club and the player, you know, to see if it was to materialise. We'll just have to wait and see.
Where do you sit on this, Alison?
I think Callum McGregor is a future Celtic captain. I know that the popular consensus would be that Kieran Tierney will take over the reins ultimately from Scott Brown, but I think Kieran Tierney is the one that might be enticed to go elsewhere, and for me, Callum McGregor would be the natural successor to take on the on and off-field responsibility that the role brings. I think he's a tremendous asset to the club. I think we can all appreciate the versatility that he offers. I think he's very articulate. I think he's very confident on and off the pitch, and I just don't know that Bournemouth would ever hold the same appeal in terms of winning things, of being successful, and having a full trophy cabinet, in terms of having personal accolades. I'm not sure that it holds the same attraction. Of course, there's a financial element that you cannot possibly disregard, and I think that comes from both, from the club. If the club the resolve of the club is tested by a substantial offer and the player looks at something where you can double your salary, I agree. I think it's something you might pause. It might give you cause to just hold up a minute and think about it. But I think if Callum McGregor stays at Celtic, and the difference between McGregor and Armstrong is McGregor has been at the club since he was a boy, since he was 8 or 9. He's went through the academy. He's never made any suggestion about being unhappy or wanting to leave. And I think he could make a substantial name for himself at Celtic.
Okay, it's Celtic against RB Salzburg. A point is enough for Celtic to guarantee second place in the group. And of course, Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic boss, reckons the team now going into this game in a very positive mood.
The team's been, the last couple of months, in a really good frame of mind. The performance, how they've been playing, how they've been working. So yeah, we respect it. It'll be a really, really tough game. You know, Salzburg won their 5 games in the group. So they'll come here and want to finish off the group in style, but it should be a great night. The team's playing well, and we'll be ready to get the result that hopefully takes us through.
Yeah, this one, Ruffy, I think could be the toughest of them all. If it was an unbelievable performance in the last match against Leipzig, this one again is of a, dare I say it, as close to the bottom end of the Champions League as you could be looking for.
Yeah, you just have to look at the group table. You know, this team have been impressive from start to finish. They're still shouting about they want to get through the whole group undefeated, which can be a sore one for Celtic. And you're right, you know, the domestic games that Celtic are playing have been impressive. This is another level. This is another test for the players. But with the home advantage and the supporters there, we've all been at these European nights, I would expect that Celtic should be good enough to get a draw in this game. Yeah,
James Forrest likes the fact that destiny is in the players' hands.
Well, obviously, we're at home, and the last two European games, we've got like 2 wins and got us right back in this group. And we would have took going into the last game like it to be in their own hands. But as I said, it's going to take a real push. Like we know, like Salzburg are a top side, and as I said, like I think everyone's going to need to be at it on the night to make sure we get through.
Welcome to PLZ Soccer. Why not join the football family and download the PLZ app? You'll get all the latest Scottish football news and up-to-date news on English and world football. There's also a feature here where you can record yourself talking about your favourite team. If we use the video, you could feature on our football show. For all the latest news in Scottish football, download the PLZ Soccer app in the App Store and in Google Play. Come and join the football family on PLZ Soccer.